What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back, finally going to be talking about the challenge season 36, Double Agents, episode 4. 2 weeks feels like such a long time. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and this episode of the challenge, I would say, was kind of a bop. Like, I think some things happened that I wasn't really expecting, and it was cool because I also feel like we got some genuine strategic content, and I was like, wow, people do have a strategy apparently. So that was really fun.
Is your definition of bop like a good thing or a bad thing?
A good thing. Is
Okay,
your
okay.
definition of bop not a good thing?
I think I've heard it used or have used it as like a negative connotated word.
What?
So I don't know,
Like,
maybe
when you
we're just
say this song is a bop, that's a bad thing?
Oh, maybe. I'm not sure. I feel like people also say bop like, oh, that's a bop away. Like it's a far distance away. So maybe we're just like not up on the slang of what that term means.
Honestly, possible.
Yeah, but I also like this episode a lot. I'm not sure if I liked the strategy, I guess, behind the choices that were made in this episode necessarily for some people, which we will definitely talk about. I think, like, I don't know, I was sort of peeved with the editing of the episode because I felt like there's a lot of Josh confessionals and it was like very focused on Josh talking, oh, I'm going to get thrown in, I'm ready to get thrown in, I want to get my gold skull, all centered on Josh, which turns out like didn't really affect who actually was in the elimination at the end because Jay wasn't in the elimination, Josh wasn't in the elimination, and I just feel like with Fessy getting thrown in at the end, they should have shown us the strategy of like who he cut deals with to be thrown in at the end.
Yeah, I guess I thought it seemed like there was a lot of Josh and a lot of Devin this episode, but like I wasn't mad about that exactly. It's just kind of confusing because I feel like again we're seeing like the same four people over and over, and like Jay is someone we haven't really seen a lot of before, but like there's still a ton of people that I'm like, who are these people? Amber M, I think, got brought up for like the first time today, and I was like, "Who are you? I've never even seen you before." So
Yeah, so like the like absence of people, then people like popping into the episode, and I just think sort of wish we saw the strategy behind like Fessy getting thrown in because apparently there were deals that like Devin made with Fessy to like keep each other safe, so that's why Devin threw Fessy in, and I guess Fessy and Tori are way closer than I thought. I didn't know that like Tori would give one to Fessy slash Anissa to throw them in to get a skull.
yeah, I guess at least there was some strategy. I guess was kind of my thinking when I said that I liked the strategy because
The
like I
bar is
think
low.
yeah, but I think it was really interesting because Devin and Tori were that is his name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I had this like flash of fear that his name was actually Kevin, and I was like, "Oh God, what if I'm calling his fans by the wrong name?" But anyway, since Devin and Tori like have very different alliances and stuff, I thought it was really interesting that they had to like kind of navigate that and how as partners they like need to do something that's good for both of them, which is a lot harder because they're on different sides.
Yeah, I agree with that. We start the episode off with like a Devin and Tori partnership conversation because at the end of episode 3, we saw that they paired up after the last elimination that Devin won. And we know that like Devin and Tori are like frenemies. Tori says that she doesn't want Devin to be her partner, and Anissa says that she feels bad for Tori. And I feel like last week or like last episode when we were talking, we thought that this was a weird pick at the time, but I feel like seeing this aftermath now, like you just said, it does make sense a little bit that like Devin picked Tori in a way because Tori has a lot of friends and then Devin was sort of on the outs, but he also is friends with like different people than Tori. So together they are friends with like a majority of the house, which could be helping to keep them safe, or it would help Tori get thrown into an elimination that she can win to get her skull.
Yeah, I do think you kind of saw how like them being with friends with different parts of the house kind of backfired though, because then when it came time, because they won the mission for that day, when it came time for them to decide who to send in, it's kind of like they don't really have a lot of options because one or the other of them is aligned with basically the whole house. So
yeah, it
I
does
thought it was
become
interesting because they never, like, I guess, joined as a team. Like, they made decisions that were good for both of them, but they never were like, okay, I'm on your side now. Like, even after they won the mission together, they were kind of like, I still don't like you. So,
yeah, that is interesting. I feel like it is cool to see, I guess, like them work together, but also they still don't like each other, which is sort of funny, but also they mention it like every other word that they say.
yeah, like, I think that it's partially a joke. Like, it seems like they were kind of joking, but also, you know,
I agree. It seems like very frenemy, like, haha, we have some beef in the past, which we're sort of over, but we still are like not best, BFFs, which is better than being actual enemies with someone, which is what we basically see at the end of this episode, where like actual people really don't like each other. But at the start of this episode, also, we see some Fessy and Tori love drama, which I was like, okay, we don't really want to get into these people's personal lives, if it's not on the television screen. But Fessy started the season off single. Tori is still engaged during the season, but now she is single. But I just felt like it was very weird to see Fessy have multiple confessionals saying that he's into Tori, even though Tori is engaged. And like, that Tori is engaged. So I just felt like it was very disrespectful. Like, why would you say that to a camera in numerous confessionals? Like, why would you even pursue someone that's taken?
yeah, because it's like if Tori's engagement hadn't ended and her fiance was like watching that, I would be really uncomfortable listening to another guy talk about how much he thought my fiance was attractive. Like, it just seems in poor taste. And it almost seemed like he was like hoping to make Tori cheat, even though he said he didn't. Like, it was just weird.
Yeah, it just is sort of, yeah, like disrespectful, sort of like low, I guess, because like Jordan and you know who she's engaged to. Like, you were on a season together, so it's not even like, oh, I didn't know this person was dating someone, I didn't know that they were engaged, they never mentioned it to me. Like, you 100% know, like, Jordan and Tori got engaged on the challenge. So like, that they're in a relationship together, so it just seems just so weird that you're like, oh yeah, I want to get with that person, but I know they're like engaged or married or something. So it's like, I don't know, if someone said that about other people that were like married on the season also, that's like, why would you say that? Especially in numerous confessionals. It's like, keep that to yourself. That's not something you need to share with the world.
And what's even weirder is then he then talks about how Gabby is like his backup plan. He's like, obviously, I'm not going to do anything with Tori since she's engaged, so I'm going to like feel out Gabby. And I'm like, bro,
Like,
you do
keep that
realize
in your brain.
she's eventually going to watch this and she's going to be kind of pissed that, like, if you guys did start a relationship, that would be really awkward. So,
Yeah, I feel like it's something that you keep to yourself, especially when like you're attracted to numerous people on the season. It's like, don't say it to a camera. And I don't know, felt bad for Gabby in like the bar scene where like we see Fessy and Gabby flirting, talking. I don't know, sort of awkward because I feel like Gabby is being used sort of as a way like, oh, let's make Tori jealous, or like, oh, Tori's taken, so let me just go with another pretty girl and like date her or like kiss them, hook up, whatever. Because in the previews, we do see Fessy and Gabby making out. So we haven't seen that in the episode yet, but it seems like their relationship progresses.
yeah, which is weird because she didn't really seem that into him. But
the pandemic.
I guess so.
So, like you mentioned, we see Jay finally getting some screen time. We see Jay saying that he's playing the middle. He wants to have a lot of friends so that he has his bases covered. He says that he hopes playing the middle doesn't bite him in the butt, which I wonder if that is foreshadowing for the future, which is sort of like, uh-oh, he is thinking of bad things. And then we see Josh says that he cannot trust Jay. And then Josh and Jay later in the episode get into like a little fight scuffle. It's just like so weird that Josh keeps starting fights with a bunch of people. Like, literally just pretend that you like Jay, Josh. It's not that difficult. Like, just lie to someone. I don't know why like they had to start that little scuffle.
It's just also really weird because we don't see anything about why Josh and Jay would dislike each other.
Just like Josh says, Jay, you're a little bit sketchy. I don't trust you anymore.
Yeah, it's just like we're kind of just expected to believe that. I don't know. I think one of the things I like about the editing in Survivor is they'll generally try to show you some of the stuff that like led up to people being like mad at each other, but this was just so out of left field. And there was another argument that I thought was totally out of left field when like Devin was talking to Big T about like being adopted because both of her parents had died, and then he's randomly like, Amber, I don't like you, leave. I'm like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah, I think like the Jay and Josh thing sort of makes sense because Josh thinks he's going to get thrown in. So he wants him and Jay to fight. So then Jay gets thrown in and Josh thinks he can beat Jay. So I was like, okay, the strategy logic there makes sense. If you think you're going to get thrown in, try to get an opponent that's weak to get thrown in also. But I'm like, yo, I would sort of want to see Josh and Jay go to battle because I'm not sure that Josh can beat Jay. So I was like, I sort of do want to see that happen so Josh can eat his words by saying Jay is like small and weak. But yeah, I agree. I feel like the Devin versus Amber M thing was also sort of weird. I wonder if that's like the editing because it was like, oh, a really like touching, heartfelt story from Big T. Like it was super sad, emotional. And then it like literally cuts to this little fight between Devin and Amber, like after they were all sitting around, like sharing their feelings and everything and like telling their stories. It just seemed a little weird. But apparently, like Amber and Devin had beef from like last week's episode where like Devin got voted in. And like apparently Amber told Devin that she didn't vote for him to go into the elimination, but someone else told Devin that Amber M did vote for him to go into the elimination. So now they have beef, but it's like, I guess it would have been nice to like see some of that because it just seemed like Devin was being an asshole, like cutting Big T off in her story and then telling Amber to leave.
Yeah, I think we've been complaining about this for a while, but I feel like the editing of the challenge is not super great, whereas sometimes I feel like I'm missing parts of the story.
Yeah, because it sort of did feel like good for Amber standing up for herself, like, oh, yo, I'm not leaving. But it also seemed like it was like a friendly fight because Kyle was there laughing the whole time. It wasn't like super mean. And then like they were all sort of like laughing about it. But then I feel like it was blown out of proportion when like Nelson gets involved and says, Amber was crying. Like, why did you do that? Sort of like the whole CTKC pizza thing that happened last week. I don't know. It was just sort of weird.
It was weird because Amber didn't look like she was crying. And
yeah, I didn't see crying. Same with Josh saying that Casey was crying.
Yeah, it's just, I don't get it. Sometimes I wonder if they just pick fights because they need something to do in the house. But
I'm like, they're picking fights a bunch so that they can get on a rival season, and then you pick a fight with someone that's super strong, so you have a good partner for rivals. Like maybe that's it.
Yeah, but I think you kind of see how that backfires because Nelson also goes after Devin for like being mean to Amber, I guess. And that does not turn out super well for our buddy Nelson.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting foreshadowing again because Devin says like, oh, Nelson, you coming up to me, it put a target on your back. And like it actually did though. I'm so surprised like that actually like happened or that worked out. So before we go into the daily challenge, we see that Liv is actually medically evacuated, which was also sort of weird because like Liv was barely in this episode. We saw like Big T and Amber B go up and hug Liv like with her arm in like a little cast thing, and then Liv doesn't even get a confessional and then she just disappeared.
It's also just really weird that like they would keep her for a week and then decide she wasn't fit. Like she did stuff last week. So, I don't know. I thought that was very strange. And I think it was harder because she thought she was going to be able to keep playing. And then her partner thought she was going to be able to keep playing. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's more sad, sort of like, oh, at least, Nicole got sent home straight away. But like she got sent back into the house after like taking x-rays or whatever, had a chip on her shoulder, like whatever that means, and they were like looking out for her. But yeah, it's got to suck more that like, oh, you like reintegrated back into the house having the hope that you get to keep continuing, but then they're like, haha, JK, nope, you're actually medevac. You don't even get a goodbye confessional or like a scene of you packing your bags, but like you literally just disappear.
Yeah. So I felt bad for her and also for her partner. I don't even remember. Michi, that's his name. Because they literally like were told he didn't even get to like compete in the the daily mission. Because like one day she was there, the next day she wasn't, and that was before their daily mission thing. So sucks to suck.
Yeah, so we have 2 girls like medically evacuated. So only Ashley out of the 3 girls that have left the game has actually been eliminated, which is sort of really crappy, you know? So like you said, Michi is a free agent now, but he can't compete in the daily. And I just thought like that's sort of weird. The numbers have got to be like off now, because if they did a male elimination last week but another girl left, technically you would have to do another male elimination this week. But then it's like sort of weird that like, oh, all the girls get to keep never going into eliminations because all of the other girls keep like injuring themselves. So I don't know, it just is weird when it's like pairs and it's numbers like that and people keep disappearing.
It's also like it sucks that both people who were medevaced because of the same challenge, and the challenge wasn't even like that interesting of a challenge, I don't think. So just
yeah, I like the physical challenges. I just, like we said in the last week's podcast, the budget was not in the
hurt,
safety.
like actually during the wrestling though, wasn't it both they got hurt as they were like being flung into the net?
Yeah, so it's like the money was for the truck, the money was not for safety purposes last week.
Yeah.
So going into this week's daily challenge, I thought this challenge looked very difficult in the little preview thing that they showed, and it turns out it was very difficult because only one team actually completed the challenge, which I feel like similar to the truck challenge last week. This is something that was cool on paper, like, oh, you're flying with drones, VR headsets, like that's super cool. But I feel like it was sort of lackluster in reality because I don't know. I'm like, if it's not a good challenge if only one team actually finishes the challenge. It's like last week, if 2 people get injured on your challenge, no matter how cool the challenge is, still 2 people got injured. So I don't know. If only one team completes it, that's not good.
I do wonder what would have happened if neither team had or if none of the teams had completed it. Just because it's like, what do you do then?
Yeah, I guess maybe everyone gets a second try to go with it, but it's like, I don't know. Apparently they were like practicing flying drones like the day before at the challenge house to like prepare for this challenge, and they wanted people to like be able to fly with VR headsets and whatnot, but it's like, dang, I don't know. It was cool on paper, but in reality, people just like cannot fly their drones, and they all flew their drones into the wall.
Well, it's also like flying drones isn't as easy as people think, I don't think, because there's like you have to be able to control its height, but you also have to be able to control its movement, and so there's like an extra axis of movement that people don't really think about. But whatever, Devin and Tori win kind of by default, and that's really interesting considering that Devin wasn't super popular last week, and Tori is, I guess, also not super popular, but also not unpopular. So
yeah, I thought it was cool that like we got to see one team actually do the challenge, because it's gotta like would have been so hard for Devin to like remember the code and then also tell Tori how to get the drone back to the base so he could go punch in the code to get the like say that they finished the challenge thing. So I was like, oh, that's got to be really hard. So I'm glad we saw the challenge play through, because I would have been sort of bummed because I felt like the puzzle part was like the harder part, like memorizing all the stuff. And I feel like some more foreshadowing. We saw Anissa and Fessy's team. Anissa says, Fessy wants me to fly the drone so that if we mess up, he can blame me. And I was like, bro, that's so sad and like so crappy for you to say that right before a challenge, that like you think your partner is going to screw you over like that, which turns out, you know, she wasn't wrong, but like, dang, your partner is just that like can't take one for the team that they're going to blame you for the loss. Like, yikes.
Yikes. Yeah. Like, I almost wish that there was an option to, like, switch out partners that didn't involve, like, someone leaving. Like, a mutiny, like they do on Survivor, where you can choose to leave your old tribe behind. Like, I think that would be really cool. And also cause a lot of drama, which I'm here for.
Oh, that would be super interesting. Like a mix-up day. I do feel like they should do some more like mix-ups or like I guess not have the elimination so like predictable of like which gender is going in because when they say Liv is out, TJ tells Michi that Michi, you're going to get a new partner at this elimination. So I feel like by power of deduction, you could figure out, oh, if Michi is going to get a new partner this elimination, that means a guy has to go home, which means it's a guy's elimination to free up an extra girl so that Michi gets a partner. So I don't know. I agree. I think sort of more switch ups would be more interesting.
Yeah, I think more switch ups would be more interesting. And I also think that making it less predictable whether there were guys or girls would be more interesting. But I think we already talked about that some last week. So
Yeah. So we go into the aftermath, the House vote. Tori says that she wants to vote in Amber because Amber is weak. And if it's a girl's day, that she wants to go in against Amber, you know, like that does make sense. You probably want to go in against someone that you think that you can beat, kind of thing, like the Joseph people wanted to go against Joseph. So, like, throw him down in there. But I feel like, I don't know, Big T says that calling people weak ain't cute. Maybe like weak isn't the right word to use because like, oh, Amber M is just like smaller than all of the other girls. But I feel like just because you're small doesn't really necessarily mean that you're not going to be good at challenges. We just haven't seen any of Amber M's strengths or weaknesses because like she hasn't even been on any of the episodes until now. So I feel like it's hard to judge whether she's good or not because we haven't really seen her.
yeah, I agree with that. But I feel like because so many people thought she was weak, like it's kind of one of those things where I don't think everyone would be wrong about that. But
yeah, I feel like it's something she looks physically smaller than all of the other girls. So, like, that's a normal, like, maybe thing to think. Like, oh, because she's skinnier or smaller, she's, like, less fit or capable. But, like, you know, Jay is also small. And I wouldn't say that Jay is, like, bad at challenges,
Jay has
also.
muscles. Amber M doesn't.
She could be, I don't know. So it's like I do want to see Amber M like go into an elimination or maybe like win a daily challenge or actually like be shown at a daily challenge or something so like we can see if she's good or not because like right now for us watching it's hard to say if she's good or not because we haven't like seen her in anything.
Yeah. But we haven't seen a lot of people. Like Lolo and Nam came up for their run at the daily mission and I was like, "Oh yeah, these people exist." So
Yeah, so we see Devin and Tori talk about their untouchables or like people that they want to save, but like untouchables is the dirty word from Big Brother this past season. So we will say untouchables to trigger anyone watching this. So Tori says that she doesn't want to put in Anissa and Fessy, Corey and Natalie, or Leroy and Casey. Devin says that he wants to save CT and Big T and then Nam and Lolo. So that leaves, they say, Nani and Josh to put in or Nelson and Amber to put in, which like you were saying before, they like are friends with half the house. So they like want to save half of the house. So it like puts them in a weird situation, but also they didn't mention like Darrell and Amber B. So I don't know. They only put Nani and Josh and Nelson as Amber as people that they would be willing to put in.
yeah, and then Tori almost immediately says, "I don't want to put in Nani." So it basically was a decision that I feel like was made just by process of elimination and not even necessarily because Nelson and Tori were or Nelson and Amber were against Devin or having beef with Devin. So
yeah, and so it was just really awkward. The bar scene. Nelson says that he would want to run the final with Corey and Fessy talking all about their friendships and everything. So like looking back at that, like now, yikes, that just sort of really sucks. That like they were talking about how they visited each other post season, how they're all BFFs, and like, yikes.
yikes.
Yeah, so we also see Josh wanting to target Jay because he would rather go against Jay than Nelson because he thinks Devin is targeting him. So, like, these same 4 names keep on coming up. We keep seeing these 4 people in the episode. And I think, it does make sense that Josh would try to, like, get someone he deems weaker to be put in against him as strategy because he thinks he's going to get voted in. But then it's also just sort of funny that, like, he wasn't even voted in, but we saw so much of him this episode.
Yeah, it just seemed like they were trying to red herring us, maybe? Question mark. So this whole episode, I feel like, was kind of confusing just because people were fighting over things that they didn't need to fight over. The challenge was like not confusing, but like everyone failed at it.
Yeah, so going into the liberation, we see Jay, Josh, and Nelson sort of on the block. Nelson said since 2 girls just went home, like we were saying, it's probably a boys' day. Everyone else counters that and is like, oh, yo, you don't know that. And so Corey has a confessional saying that nobody is scared of Amber M, which I was like, but also like, okay, sort of true based on like her size and whatnot. And everyone, I don't know. I feel like at this point in time, it seemed like it was very much between voting Jay and voting Josh in. So it was sort of weird how Nelson just sort of got voted in somehow with all of the votes. I'm like, maybe people like were voting Nelson, but we never saw any of that. It really did feel like Jay or Josh was going to be the House vote. Maybe a bunch of people burned their votes, so Nelson got the most votes after that. But I really wouldn't have expected that Nelson was going to get thrown in, especially because of his relationships with Corey and all of the Big Brother people.
Yeah, I also wasn't really expecting that, but it was kind of interesting because I think it put Devin and Tori in a more interesting position as far as deciding who was going to go in.
Yeah, so we see Tori and Devin go into their little secret hut room. Nelson and Amber, they saw got voted in, and they say that, oh, they were voted in by their friends. So if they are voted in by their friends, what are they going to do to us if people are willing to like backstab so easily? I feel like with that little segment, we really got nothing. No strategy who Tori and Devin were going to throw in. Like, they didn't even talk through any kind of combinations of people. I really wish with that double agent time when they're in the room together that we would actually get something, because even last week with Casey and Leroy in the room, like, we literally got no strategy from that. And I would have loved to hear their reasonings or like talking through, oh, who do we want to throw up against Nelson kind of thing.
Yeah, like they kind of said something when they were like, we got to do something that's good for both of us, but that isn't really what ended up happening, I feel like. So
just came out of left field, I feel like. So yeah, we see Nelson saying that he regrets choosing Amber M as a partner in the first episode, and Corey says he feels like Amber M is just here to party and not really like taking the challenge seriously. And it sort of sucks that like people think that Amber M is the weak link, and so that's why like they got thrown down there, plus the Devin fight. But then it just really sucks that Nelson is the one that ended up in the elimination, when I feel like Amber M should have been in the elimination and got sent home because like people don't want to be with her.
Yeah, and I kind of hope that Amber M does end up going home sometime soon, just because it seems unfair that Nelson got screwed over just by being her partner. But
so going into the elimination, it is a Hall Brawl in episode 4, which honestly feels a little bit early and feels bad because Nelson was in the Hall Brawl last season and then got eliminated right at the end before the final. So he's in Hall Brawls 2 back-to-back seasons. And I was like, dang, that really sucks to lose back-to-back Hall Brawls in 2 back-to-back seasons. Like, feels bad, but I also feel like Fessy just went into the Hall Brawl because he wanted to be a part of a Hall Brawl.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because Fessy does win the Hall Brawl, but someone, while they were doing it, was like, Fessy should have won much easier than he did if he's actually as good of a competitor as he thought he was. Because he's like, they said he's like 50 pounds heavier than Nelson and also like has more muscle. And so it's like, you should have no problem just like blasting through him. So
Yeah, I feel like Nelson isn't bad at the Hall Brawls, though, like losing twice. I feel like last season he was like sort of close, just couldn't get on his feet. And I don't know, like this season, like it just sort of in a Hall Brawl physical elimination like this, if you have more like weight and you're taller and bigger, like Fessy is over Nelson, like Fessy is probably going to win most of the times if you like keep on playing this scenario out. Fessy probably wins a lot over Nelson because Nelson is just smaller. So it just sort of sucks, you know. Nelson's got it stacked up against him from the start. And I felt like it was interesting seeing like Tori possibly maybe wanted to throw herself in there. And then we see Tori and Devin talk about like, oh, like Tori asked TJ, is it a boy or a girl's day? TJ's like, yo, I'm not telling you. So good. That's like Jeff Probst, you know, you're not going to get any information out of the host. So I liked that. And I'm glad that Tori and Devin, like they didn't fight about it in public, but they were civil enough of partners to be like, assess the situation. Oh, it's too risky for us to throw ourselves down there because it could be a guy's day. And me as Devin, I'm not going to throw myself in there because I already have a skull. So I'm glad that like they didn't have to fight about it. And Tori was just able to be like, okay, I cede to your argument, Devin. Devin, you help me get a skull later on.
Yeah, I think that was good because they were able to be like, I guess that I think is the ideal partnership dynamic for partners who didn't necessarily choose each other, but still like want to be partners, I guess. Like they're not looking to immediately throw each other out.
So after Tori and Devin say, no way, TJ, we're not going in there, TJ is like, okay, who are you throwing in then? And then they say Alyssa and Fessy, which everyone was like, OMG, so shocked by. And I think, you know, I wish we would have saw more of like the deals that were made because apparently Fessy was making deals with them to try to get himself thrown into it. And Tori throwing in Alyssa does make sense because if it is a girl's day, Alyssa will probably beat Amber M, and then Tori gets her BFF girl a skull. So that makes sense. Just like everyone was so freaking shocked that like Fessy would go down there and like want to go against his friend and cut deals so that he can go against the friend. And I'm just like, LOL, because like 2 episodes ago, Fessy couldn't tell that like the ring in the circle was a headbanger physical challenge. But now because he sees a hall in the middle of the floor, he's like, oh, I know what this is, a hall brawl. Now I'm 100% going in. And it just seemed like, I don't know, Fessy maybe wasn't thinking ahead for social dynamics and he just wanted to go in a hall brawl because like he's built for the hall brawl.
Yeah, but the hall brawl was actually surprisingly close, I think. But I do wish we had seen more of the lead up just because I think that's the more interesting part. And I hope that there's some fallout, I guess, tomorrow or not tomorrow, next week. So
yeah, I think, I don't know, just like going against your friend and like someone you're friends with in real life just to do a hall brawl. And like, okay, you can say Fessy did it also because he wanted to get his skull and he thinks he can win a hall brawl. But like we were saying, it was closer of a match than you would have expected it to be considering how big Fessy is. And Fessy did play football growing up and everything. So it just seems like just so sketchy and like sort of like a low blow, like low hands kind of deal that like you need relationships in order to succeed at this game. And it just, I don't know, sort of sucks because I feel like Fessy won't really lose in any eliminations, even if he is thrown in, unless it's a puzzle because people are afraid of him because he is bigger. So I feel like even if he is thrown in again, he's probably going to win. But I just feel like it's such a crappy thing to do to your friend, especially how last season went and how Nelson was sent home last season, and to go down in episode 4 when you're like still have half the season left. Like, just give Nelson this one. Like, why are you taking it from him?
Yeah, it's like Fessy didn't need a hall brawl to win, but he wanted one because that was when he knew he could 100% win.
Yeah, I feel like he just wanted it to do it for the sake of doing it and for the experience of like doing a hall brawl, which, you know, I'm like, okay, who doesn't want to say that they won a hall brawl and they participated in a hall brawl? Like, that's super cool. And like those challenges don't come around that often. But I don't know, just feels bad for Nelson. I wish with the Hall Brawl and with these physical challenges that they would stop with all of their excessive freaking editing and just like let us see the fight and let us see the hit. Because even like last season with like the Hall Brawl last season, it just, there's so many edits and like they cut the camera shot so quickly that like you can't even tell what is happening because they cut from like, oh, the hit to now they're on the ground to now they're like wrestling, and it's like, just let us see the hit and then them fall to the ground and like let us see it play out, because I don't want to see this like massively edited shots together. I don't know, it was just hard to watch because like I couldn't tell what was happening because it was so edited.
Yeah, and it's just like we didn't need the editing makes it more confusing, and editing is supposed to make things less confusing. So
and yeah, apparently Fessy was playing dirty during the Hall Brawl because he was pulling Nelson's hurt finger, and like we saw Fessy pull off like Nelson's front of the helmet and everything, and it just was sort of icky in that way too. Like, oh, you're going against your friend and you're wrestling with them in the middle of the Hall Brawl. Like, this is not a wrestling match. This is the Hall Brawl. So like, why are you like purposefully trying to pull his finger? Like, kick him while he's down while you're at it. And like, it just sort of felt like Jay and Rogan last season, where like Rogan purposely went like so OP against Jay, like when it was unnecessary.
Yeah, it's just, it's like they get into these like wrestling matches and forget that they are friends.
Yeah, it's just way too much. Like, you didn't, I don't know. I was glad that TJ called it out and was like, stop playing dirty, because it's like, that's not the elimination. You don't need to be pulling someone's hurt finger to like win. Like, that is just so rude. Even if you aren't friends or like BFFs with a person, to like do low blows like that, it's like, that sort of makes you a crappy competitor if you like resort to those things. Like, play within the rules, and if they are your friend, you're not gonna like go nicer on them per se, even if they're not your friend. Just like, why do you gotta pull their finger?
Yeah, I'm interested to see whether or not there will be any ramifications for this next week for Fessy, but I doubt it, but we can hope.
Oh, I 100% agree. I'm excited to see the fallout of this in the show, because it does seem like it's very, very messy. Nelson, it seems like, still hasn't forgiven Fessy over this, which I'm like, yeah, you know, I guess it does make sense, because Fessy didn't need to throw himself in this elimination. It's still early. There's still 3 guys with skulls only after this week. So it's like, you still have some time. There's probably going to be more headbangers in the future. And I don't know, Nelson took it like a champ. I was like almost going to cry. It was just so sad when Nelson was like giving his goodbye speech. And I was like, okay, I want to see Corey get some revenge for Nelson now.
Yeah, I think a revenge arc would be really fun.
So we see Fessy win, and then Fessy gets to switch partners. He chooses Casey to be his partner, which I was like, okay, Fessy, go and piss off everyone in the dang house today while you're at it, because I don't know, it was just sort of crappy, everything that happened, because he was like, okay, Anissa, someone's going to steal me away from you sometime, so let me just leave first. And I was like, that's the most dumb kind of argumentation that you could give there, because you literally just blamed Anissa for you ditching Anissa. And I don't know, I feel like it doesn't make sense to pick Casey, because you're already buddies, you're already in the Big Brother alliance together. Why would you want to partner up? Maybe it would help you win challenges, but also like, that's not a guarantee. And then like, you piss off Nelson by going in against him. You piss off Corey for going in against Nelson. You pissed off Josh for like stealing the Hall Brawl apparently. And then you piss off Leroy for taking Casey. Like, you're going to be public enemy number 1, maybe.
Yeah. So maybe Fessy goes home soon. That would be really interesting and not something that we're expecting. So
yeah, I feel like that's going to be super hard though, considering Fessy is like huge and like very strong. He needs to be put in like a puzzle or something against someone who's like super good at puzzles. But I don't know. I feel like Fessy was sort of bland last season, that he's trying to like stir stuff up this season so that he gets invited back, or he's trying to get a partner for rival season. But honestly, I feel like people don't maybe think that far ahead to like purposefully like make enemies with people to be invited back, but it does seem that like Fessy wants more screen time, and so he wants to keep getting invited back. So you need to start like being good TV, otherwise you won't get invited back.
Yeah, but personally, I'm really excited to see what does happen next week because I feel like they're starting to like kind of stir the pot. Things are starting to get kind of, I guess, nastier might be a word. So
More
I'm
drama.
To see where it goes. Yeah.
I'm excited also for next week. We see Leroy pick Anissa for a partner, so we have the vets together, and then we also see Michi and Amber M pair up, which is Team Rookie, and Michi is super funny. He says, I don't know if we'll win any challenges. So I was like, okay, LOL, at least you have some good awareness of like your strengths as a team together. So I'm excited, like you said, for next week to see the fallout of all of this. I sort of want to see like Fessy go in some ball of flames after this week because of the choices, and like I don't know, I feel like it wasn't for strategy but more so for drama and like pissing people off and for doing a hall brawl. So like it makes good TV, but also was this the best decision for him? Probably not, because he like pissed off a bunch of people.
Yeah, but let us know in the comments down below what you think of this episode. Do you think that Fessy did the right thing? Who do you think is going to go home next? Will a woman actually be eliminated, or will there just be another medevac? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But we'll